Right, this is the install of the lockup DIY kit which I provide. First things first, we're going to try and remove some components here. What you first do is remove the cup holder here, which pulls straight up. Now, just to make this a little bit faster, I've kind of like removed some of the screws, but I'll guide you through everything. Remove the cup holder, just pulls straight up. It's got a clip over there, there, and there. You can use a cloth over a flat screwdriver to maybe pry it open and not damage the plastic on the surround. Then on the gear lever, you'll see the grey part at the bottom, pull straight down. You'll then find either 1, 2 or 3 screws on the side or at the back, which you undo. This then can pull straight up and out, and that out as well. Be careful for the screws. What I do when I've loosened them is to keep the gear holder there and just wiggle it a bit so it can drop into this grey parts over here, and I can then remove it as a whole. The transfer lever gets undone anti-clockwise until it comes out, and you can remove that. Now, for clarity purposes, I've left this connector here, which usually plugs in around here underneath the console. That's for the lights, for the indicators. At the bottom there's 2 screws there and there, which you need to remove before this comes out. So when you pull this up now over here, you can stick in your hand either here if you've got small hands or underneath here, and just undo the clip. You'll see that side over there gets pushed down, and then you can pull the connector out. I find it best to have the ignition on, and then the gear lever and drive, and the transfer case lever in either 2H or 4H, which makes maneuvering it out a little bit better. Let's try neutral there, and 4H. There we go, that pulls straight up. Remember that clip over there which goes in there to loosen it. Then you'll find a screw over here and over here for this part over here, which you can then pull out. I'm going to move this back to move it. You can just push that down, push that down. Then after you've removed those 2 screws, you can pull this up, down, and I like to just swivel it around. It's a bit fiddly. There we go, that should give us enough space to work with. Right, then we're going to get the kits over here, and it looks a bit of a mess, but as we go along it'll start to sort itself out. So we're going to leave the power for last so we don't damage anything or blow a fuse. Try to find the 2 connectors that look like that and just get them clear from the rest of the harness. Right, so I've got those 2. Let me pull the camera for just a second. We're going to try and get those in there, on that connector over there, that one there. I've already removed the nut which is on there. We'll get those 2 in there. Tighten that up. Right. And we're going to look for a power cable, which is this one over here. On the back of the cigarette lighter, we're going to pull the connector that connects onto the middle connector of the cigarette lighter and plug that mains in there. Then we're going to use the little attachment over there and plug that back into the cigarette lighter. Right, now this is the switch. We should have power on everything, so if you switch it on, you should get lights there, and you should also hear the relays clicking. Now I can clearly hear those relays clicking, and if you leave it in the off position and you turn the ignition off, you shouldn't hear click. If it's in the off position and you turn the ignition on, you shouldn't hear click. You should only hear click when the ignition is on and you switch the switch on. it goes click and back again. Now, to verify further that we don't have that cable and those two connectors mixed up, you need to make sure that the male connector goes into, just make sure we got that one, goes into the relay where the cable that comes out of it goes to the ground over there, and then the male connector is connected to the relay where this is connected to, which is the resistor. Now what you then do is look down here and you'll see a great big white connector there. Now going forward into the dash it goes to the gearbox ECU, and going back it goes to the gearbox. So in this wiring loom over here we'll trace a wire. I've already done mine, which is yellow in color and it's got a red trace on it. Now the wire that goes back to the gearbox that way needs to be connected with a female connector, and the other side will get a male connector over there, and that goes that way. Now with those two connected and the switch on, with the ignition on of course, this resistor should not get hot at all. The only time this resistor will ever see current is when the factory ECU tries to lock up the torque converter's clutch. Under any other circumstances this will remain cool. It does get very hot though, so try and get it somewhere away from anything that can melt or catch fire. It's rated to dissipate 50 watts of power. With the car running, seeing 14 volts, it will only generate about 30 watts of power. Not even that, because it will see a pulse width modulation of 12 volts. So it'll only see about 30, maybe a little bit less of watts, but it still gets pretty hot and won't scald to the touch, but if you hold it like that it will burn once it's operating. But like I said, it'll only see 12 volts, it'll only see current, and it'll only get hot when the factory ECU tries to lock up the clutch and your switch is on. If your switch is off, this will remain cool under all circumstances. Right, what we're going to do now is to take these two remaining connections and we'll connect them to the wires there. I've already connected my switch over here. The ignition on, it goes on and off and on. Put it on, have a feel on the resistor, make sure it doesn't get hot. Maybe just leave it for a minute or so, make sure it doesn't get hot. If it doesn't, you probably got everything right. With the connectors clicking that you can hear there. Mine's icy cool, and that's it. That's the install. Also just remember, with the switch that I sell, if you look at the switch you'll have 1, 2, 3 connectors. The wire that goes to the 0 goes to the positive behind the cigarette lighter. The one in the middle goes to the relays, and the one that's behind the one, that one over there, and that follows through to the ground. Right, and then putting everything back together is the reverse of removal. If you don't come right, give us a call. Just remember to connect that back up again for your lights. And I found for the center console that goes over the stalks to go in with the nose first underneath once you've put this back first. Now to put everything back together, I'm just going to put my relays down the back there. With the wiring kind of cleaned up now, a good spot I found for the resistor is down here. I just use one of the eyelets under that bolt and just bolt it down there. It's away from any wires or so. I've taken my wires and just put most of them in there. You can clean it up even more if you like when I put everything back in again. I'll just go underneath like so.